My wife didn't come home that night. At 2 a.m., I called her phone because the bed was cold and my imagination was loud. The room felt too big for one person. It rang twice. A man answered, calm as a banker. "She's busy right now." And in the background I heard it, Claire's laugh, real, loose, like she'd forgotten my name existed. My voice came out clean. "Perfect, keep her. I'll send the paperwork to your office by morning." I hung up first. That's the part people don't believe later. They think the husband yells. They think he begs. They think he drives around the city like a private detective with a broken heart and a full tank. But heartbreak doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with a single click as you end a call and realize the life you were protecting has been living without you. The kitchen light buzzed. The fridge hummed. Harbor Point was silent outside the window fog and the streetlights, wet asphalt shining like a bruise. I stood barefoot on tile, listening to my own breathing like it belonged to someone else. For months, she'd been working late meetings, late fires to put out. Her job at North Shore Renewables was real, and the hours were real, and that's how the lie got to wear a uniform. I opened my laptop at the kitchen table. Our phone plan was in my name not because I'm controlling, but because I'm the one who pays bills on time. If there's a password in our house, I'm the guy who remembers it. If there's a problem, I'm the guy who fixes it and doesn't mention it twice. The account portal loaded slow, like it didn't want to be responsible for what it was about to show me. Call history, data usage, the map view that shows approximate locations and still manages to feel like an accusation. Dates, durations. The same number again and again during her late meetings. I clicked 1 week, then the next. It kept repeating like the system was laughing at me too. I took screenshots of what I was allowed to see, what I paid for, what was already mine. No hacking, no stalking, just a receipt. I wrote the first line of my own case file on a yellow notepad. 2 a.m., boss answered. Then I underlined it hard enough to bruise the paper. I added, he said, "She's busy right now." Background, her laugh. Facts don't comfort you, but they keep you from drowning in maybe. At 2:17 a.m. I texted Jordan, "If I call tomorrow, don't talk me out of it." He replied, "You okay?" I typed, "No, but I'm awake." Then I saw the pattern. Calls clustered around the same downtown towers, the same window, the same number like a metronome counting down. Every time I'd asked where she was, she'd used the same tone, patient, disappointed, like I was a child bothering an adult. And the number had a voice attached to it in my memory from a holiday party months back. A man who shook my hand like he was doing me a favor, then held it a beat too long. Victor. I didn't become paranoid. I became accurate. Accuracy is a lonely thing. It doesn't hug you back. Claire came home after sunrise like she'd been out for groceries, not out for me. She smelled like a different soap and a different life. Her hair was pinned the way she did it when she wanted to look effortless. There was a faint shimmer on her collarbone glitter or powder or the kind of sample that doesn't come from a client meeting. "Hey," she said, breezy. "Work ran late." I made coffee, slow, measured scoops, steady hands. "You must be exhausted." "Yeah," she said. "It was a whole thing." She said it like she was reading a caption, not remembering a night. Her eyes narrowed when I didn't ask for details. Calm bothered her. Calm meant I wasn't begging. Calm meant I was doing math. She opened the fridge, frowned at leftovers, tried to laugh. "You're being weird." "No," I said. "I'm being quiet." She leaned against the counter, studying me like a problem she couldn't Google. "So what? You're giving me the silent treatment?" "I'm giving myself peace," I said. She blinked, offended by the idea that my peace mattered. While she showered, I walked through the house like a man measuring exits. I pulled the small things that could vanish later, my dad's watch, passports, the external drive with my work backups, the envelope of old photos I kept because nostalgia is cheaper than therapy. I opened the drawer where we kept spare keys and counted them. Too many. Too easy for someone to lose one. Not drama, just prevention. At 10:03 a.m., I called a locksmith. Harbor Point Lock and Key, Ron said. I need a quote, I told him, rekeying, maybe a keypad. He didn't ask why, he just said, afternoon 2 o'clock. Like safety was as normal as changing oil. I met Jordan at a storage place off Route 9, a row of metal doors and padlocks. The place smelled like dust and cold metal, like forgotten decisions. We moved boxes quietly, paperwork, heirlooms, hard drives. I wasn't hiding money. I was protecting proof. You sure about this? Jordan asked as we slid my lockbox onto a shelf. I'm sure about what happened at 2 a.m., I said. Everything after that is just logistics. He watched me a second. You're not shaking. I already shook, I said. Last night, when I realized she could laugh while I worried. Back home, I moved my paycheck to a new personal account at a different bank. Legal. Documented. Just me shutting off access to the parts of me she didn't deserve anymore. I left enough in joint for bills until Dana told me otherwise. Boring wins. Ron arrived, measured the door, and asked normal questions like he wasn't installing the first real boundary in my marriage. He explained the cost, handed me a carbon copy receipt, and said, "Call me if you want it done fast." Fast, like Payne had a delivery option. Claire watched from the hallway, arms folded, smile thin. After Ron left, she tried touch fingers on my forearm like she could reattach me to her. "Babe," she said, "you're insecure." The therapy word, insecure. The magic label that makes your pain sound like your problem. I didn't argue. I just looked at her until she shifted her gaze away first. Then she said it, casual as lint. "Victor says you've been emotional lately." My stomach went cold. The man who answered her phone also felt entitled to comment on my emotions. He wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was shaping the story. Dana Mills' office sat above a nail salon. You could smell acetone in the hallway, and it felt right. People upstairs trying to fix what's broken. People downstairs trying to make something look better than it is. Dana didn't talk like TV lawyers. She talked like someone who'd watched people ruin themselves and got tired of it. "Clean means boring," she said. "Boring wins." I told her about the 2 a.m. call, the laugh, the number. I didn't embellish. I didn't need to. The facts were ugly enough without makeup. I slid the screenshots across her desk. She studied them like weather maps. She tapped the company name on the account, North Shore Renewables. "He's her boss?" "Yes." Dana's pen stopped moving. "That changes the whole temperature." "Because of HR?" I asked. "Because of power," she said. "A boss sleeping with a subordinate isn't a romance. It's risk, it's favoritism, it's retaliation, and companies hate risk." I almost laughed. "So I'm supposed to trust a company to do the right thing?" "You're supposed to force them to do the self-protective thing," she said. "Sometimes that overlaps with justice." She drafted a preservation letter, keep emails, messages, entry badge logs, security footage, a litigation hold, adult language, no threats. Then she pulled out separation paperwork templates, like a doctor laying out instruments. "You don't have to file today," she said, "but you want it ready. Control matters." My phone buzzed nonstop with Claire's texts. "Where are you?" "Stop ignoring me. This is abusive. We need to talk like adults. I'm scared of you. You're acting unstable." The last two made my jaw tighten. Unstable. Scared. She was laying tracks for a story where she'd be the victim and I'd be the monster. If you don't understand that game, you lose it. Dana watched my face. "Don't respond," she said. "If you need to respond, keep it simple. I will communicate through counsel." I didn't respond. Then an email hit my inbox, her work calendar invite, forwarded by mistake through our old home printer connection. She'd asked me once to print a schedule. I connected it. She never disconnected it. Liars forget the tiny cords that still tie them to the truth. Subject: Leadership Dinner, Harborview. 7 p.m., Victor, Claire. 3 executives, no spouses, no plus ones. I stared at it until it stopped being an event and became a confession. Dana didn't smile. That's confirmation, she said. Not proof of intimacy, proof of proximity. Proximity plus policy equals trouble. I asked, "What do I do tonight?" She looked at me like she was weighing my impulse control. "You observe," she said. "You do not intervene. You don't touch anyone. You don't threaten. You collect what happens and you write it down." "Like a robot," I said. "Like a survivor," she corrected. At 6:20 p.m., I started my truck. I parked across from Harborview and waited. Waiting is where your mind tries to poison you. It replays old scenes and adds new subtitles. It turns every normal argument into a clue, every laugh into a lie. It whispers that you're overreacting. Then it whispers that you're underreacting. It never shuts up. At 7:12, Victor arrived in a black SUV, coat expensive, smile practiced. He shook hands with the hostess like he owned the building. At 7:18, Claire showed up in a gray dress I'd never seen. She checked her reflection in the restaurant window before she went inside, like the night was a stage and she was the lead. My hands stayed on the steering wheel. I breathed through my nose. I watched. At 9:03, they left together. No group, no co-workers. Together. He opened her door. She leaned in, touched his sleeve, said something that made him grin. Then they drove away. I followed at a safe distance, 2 cars between us, steady, no sudden moves. I wasn't chasing. I was witnessing. Halfway downtown, Victor made a quick turn he didn't need to make. A test. I stayed on him without closing the gap. Another turn. Another. Claire looked back through the rear window, head snapping like she'd felt a hook in the water. They knew. They sped up a little, not enough to be reckless, just enough to say, "Don't follow." I kept my pace. I let every stoplight be a judge. They didn't head toward our neighborhood. They headed for the North Shore Renewables building, downtown, glass and steel and security badges. Offices look innocent in daylight. At night, they look like aquariums full of private choices. Victor pulled into the parking garage and took the ramp down. I stayed back, letting another car go between us so it looked like normal traffic. The fluorescent lights made everything sickly and pale. On the lower level, Victor slowed. Then he turned and looked straight at my headlights. Claire stiffened beside him. They'd spotted me. Victor parked near the security booth and stepped out like we were about to chat about weather. A security guard sat with a coffee cup, pretending not to listen. His eyes flicked up and down, cataloging the scene the way people do when they smell trouble. Victor walked to my window, leaned down and smiled. "Jack, you're a good husband for being worried." He said it like I was harmless, like my grief was cute. I cracked my window 2 inches. "Move," I told him, calm. "You don't want to be here," he said. "I'm already here," I said. "And you answered my wife's phone at 2 a.m. He chuckled, misunderstanding. "Sure," I said. Behind him, Claire stood by the SUV, arms crossed, eyes sharp. Her face said, "Don't you dare make me look bad." Victor leaned closer. "Let's not do anything you'll regret." It wasn't a warning. It was a reminder of his position. I looked at him and saw what he was. A man who believed consequence was a rumor that happened to other people. "Don't make yourself something else," he said. I smiled back. Small. Too late. For the first time, his smile slipped. I rolled the window up and pulled away without giving him another second. Not because I was afraid, because I didn't want him to think he could talk me back into being quiet. The next morning, Claire moved through the house like she was testing which version of me showed up in daylight. She tried normal questions, first work, groceries, the neighbor's dog like we hadn't reached the point where my marriage had a timestamp. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I let her feel the new silence and wonder what it meant. She made herself toast and didn't offer me any. Small tells, selfish habits slipping out now that she thought the deal was done. "You're being dramatic," she said finally, voice sharp. "You followed me." "I confirmed," I said. She scoffed. "Confirmed what? That I have a job?" I didn't answer. Any answer would be fuel. That afternoon she ran errands. Her phone stayed face down on the counter when she left, as if the device itself was guilty. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I already had what was mine. At 6:40 p.m., I got another call log ping Victor's number, short duration. Not enough to plan. Enough to check in. Like a man checking the lock after he's already walked through the door. That night, I crossed paths with Victor again. She'd claim coincidence. I'd call it inevitability. The building lobby at North Shore Renewables was marble and wreaths and fake goodwill. A receptionist looked up, saw Victor, and smiled like he'd paid for her teeth. Claire hovered behind him, too close to be professional, too stiff to be romantic. The tension between them had the glossy shine of people who think they're smarter than consequences. Victor straightened, hands open, like I was the threat. "Let's be adults," he said. "This is messy." "You made it messy," I said, by picking up her phone. Claire flinched. The receptionist's eyes flicked toward her, then away. Victor's voice softened. "You don't want to ruin her career. She's talented." "You already did," I told him. "I'm just the receipt." Claire stepped in, hand reaching for my arm. "Jack, please, not here." "Where then?" I asked. "At home? Or in your boss's car?" Her eyes shimmered. Tears came on command. "You've been distant. Victor understands me." "Convenient," I said. "He understands you while he signs your promotion packet." Her tears stopped. Victor blinked, real surprise. So she hadn't told him how visible this was. I drove home and found a folder in the printer tray. Relocation offer, senior title. Start date circled in pen, January 15th. Victor's signature line. I felt something hollow out behind my ribs. She wasn't cheating because she was confused. She was leaving, and she needed me steady long enough to step into her new life clean. She needed me to keep paying the mortgage, keep showing up as husband, keep the optics smooth until she could disappear into the promotion like a magic trick. I took photos, put the folder back exactly. At 11:48 p.m., I called Jordan. "Tell me you're not doing something stupid," he said. "I'm doing something precise," I told him. He was quiet a second. "You sound different." "I feel different," I said. "Like the part of me that begged is gone." "That part kept you human," he said. "Maybe," I replied, "but it also kept me trapped." When I hung up, the house felt emptier than before. Not because she was absent, because I'd stopped pretending she would return to me. Victor loved being seen. Yacht club, charity boards, press photos. The kind of man who could donate a check and still haggle with the waiter about the wine. I didn't blackmail. I didn't send anonymous warnings. That's how you end up looking like the unstable one. I set a collision truth meeting image in daylight where cameras didn't blink. Victor was scheduled at a marina community leadership event. Public. Donors. A local photographer who'd take pictures and post them before the night was over. I parked where security cameras could see my truck, then waited. The air smelled like salt and cold metal. A marina worker in a knit cap walked past with a coil of rope and nodded like I belonged there. Victor's SUV rolled in. He saw me and his jaw tightened first crack. I pulled forward and parked behind him. Not touching, not trapping, just close enough that leaving meant acknowledging me. If he backed out fast, he'd look like he was fleeing. Men like Victor hate looking like they're fleeing. He stepped out, smile loaded. "Jack, following me now?" "Catching up," I said. He lowered his voice. "You don't know what you're doing." "I know exactly," I said. "You've been playing private. I'm keeping this in public." His eyes flicked to the dock where a woman in pearls waved at him. Victor's polished world. He waved back, mask snapping on so fast it almost made me laugh. When she turned away, he hissed, "If you keep this up, I'll make sure you lose everything." There it was. Retaliation, plain. I nodded once. "Good," I said. "Now you sound honest." He stared at me like he couldn't decide if I was bluffing. I wasn't. I didn't step into his space, I didn't touch him. I just held eye contact long enough for him to feel, for once, what it was like to be seen clearly and recorded in memory. "Get help," he muttered, the kind of insult men use when they can't control you. "I already did," I said. "Her name is Dana." A photographer snapped pictures of donors near the dock. Victor's body shifted, remembering the audience. He forced his smile back on and walked away toward the cameras, shoulders stiff, jaw clenched. I sat in my truck for a full minute afterward, hands on the wheel, letting my pulse settle. Violence was easy. Violence was immediate. Violence would have made me the headline. Paper cuts don't look like revenge, they look like patience. But they bleed all the same. On day 5, I scheduled movers, not a midnight escape, a documented removal of my property. Tools, office gear, keepsakes, everything I could prove was mine. I printed receipts. I photographed serial numbers. It felt ridiculous until I remembered how quickly ours becomes mine and yours in a courtroom. I also requested a civil standby, not to punish Claire, to keep it from turning physical when her control slipped. Miguel, the crew lead, walked through with a clipboard. "Just your stuff," he confirmed, respectful. "Yes," I said, "just mine." The first box out was my work laptop and files. The second was my tool bag. When you're a man, those things are your skeleton, how you earn, how you fix, how you survive. At 3:17 p.m., Claire burst in, cheeks flushed from cold and rage. "What is this?" she snapped. "This is me leaving," I said. She looked at the boxes like they were insults. Then she grabbed one and tried to yank it back. Miguel stepped between us, polite but firm. "Ma'am," he said, "please don't touch the load." She jabbed a finger at him. "Do you know who I am?" Miguel's face stayed neutral. "I know who's paying," he said. The uniformed officer shifted slightly, a reminder that the room had rules. Claire saw the officer and laughed, mean. "So you're scared?" "I'm careful," I said. Her voice dropped. "You're trying to humiliate me." "No," I said. "I'm trying to stop you from erasing me." She blinked, then did what she always did when charm didn't work. She got cruel. Her face went still, voice almost calm. "I stayed because you were useful," she said. "Stable, safe. Victor is my future." It didn't even come out angry. It came out factual, like she'd rehearsed it into a mirror. I nodded slowly. "Thanks. That makes this easy." For a second, she looked stunned, like she expected begging. When I didn't give it, her face hardened again. "You think this ends here?" she said. "No," I said. "It ends at the gala." Her eyes widened at the word gala, her temple, her stage, the place she could perform perfect and be rewarded for it. She stepped closer, voice a whisper meant to cut. "You can't compete with him." "I'm not competing," I said. "I'm exiting." She left in a rush, heading straight for the man she thought would protect her. When the last box went out, I walked through the living room and saw the dents where furniture used to sit, the pale rectangles on the wall where frames used to hang. It looked like a life that had been removed surgically. At 6:02 p.m., an unknown number texted me. "If you show up at the gala, you'll regret it." Regret is what people threaten when they still think you can be scared into silence. I texted Jordan, "Pick me up tomorrow at 6. Wear a suit." The Harbor Point Historical Hotel glowed like a candle in the snow. Inside, it smelled like pine, perfume, and expensive guilt. I wore my one good suit. I didn't drink. I needed my hands steady and my memory clean. The bartender offered champagne. I asked for club soda and got a look like I'd confessed to a crime. Jordan dropped me at the entrance and stayed outside with the engine running. "You sure?" he asked through the window. "I'm sure," I said. "If I don't show up, they keep writing me out." Dana had already filed the complaint. Policy breach, conflict of interest, retaliation threat, preservation letter delivered. Boring, precise, unavoidable. All I had to do was show up and let their own structure collapse. The ballroom was full of people practicing kindness for each other. Donor smiles, board member laughs, cameras, a banner with the charity's name like a halo. Waiters moved through the crowd like ghosts with trays. Claire spotted me immediately, smile bright, panic behind it. She looked flawless, hair perfect, makeup perfect, a necklace that caught light every time she moved. I recognized the necklace. I'd never bought it. "Jack," she whispered, stepping into my path. "What are you doing?" "Attending," I said. "Please, not tonight." "You loved tonight," I said. "You loved the photos, the applause." Her lips pressed tight. "You're being vindictive." "I'm being accurate," I said. Victor approached in a tuxedo, grin ready. "This isn't the place." "It's exactly the place," I said. He lowered his voice. "We can talk privately." "No," I said. "Private is where you win." His eyes narrowed. "You're making a mistake." "You told me that in the garage," I said. "I remember." A woman with a badge stepped toward us, cutting through the crowd with purpose. "Mr. Halden? Susan Park, Board Compliance." Victor's smile didn't move, but his throat did. "Of course." Susan turned to me. "Mr. Avery?" "Jack Avery," I said. Susan's voice stayed calm. "Did you answer Ms. Avery's phone at approximately 2 a.m. on Monday?" The question hit the air like a dropped glass. Nearby conversations slowed, people turning their heads the way they do when they smell scandal. Victor tried. "I don't recall." "He did," I said. "He told me she was busy." I heard her laugh. Claire snapped, "Jack, stop!" But her voice cracked. The performance was failing. Susan looked at Victor. "Mr. Halden?" He chose the only truth that still sounded controlled. "Yes," he said quietly. I answered. It was inappropriate. The room didn't explode. It didn't need to. A confession doesn't have to be loud to be lethal in a place built on reputation. Claire made a sound small, broken. Victor didn't look at her. Liability doesn't get eye contact. Susan nodded once. "We need you in the side office, now." Victor's jaw flexed. He glanced at the crowd, calculating angles. Then he nodded like he'd agreed to this, like he was still in control. As Susan guided him away, Claire turned on me, eyes burning. "You did this," she hissed, close enough that her breath hit my cheek. I leaned in. "No, I stopped you from doing it to me." She spun and headed for the service corridor behind the ballroom toward the last private corner left. I followed. The service corridor was all steam and dish soap and echoing pipes. The gala music thumped through the walls like a heartbeat you couldn't trust. Claire spun around. "Are you proud?" I stayed a few feet back. Distance is a boundary and a shield. She tried softness first, voice low. "Jack, we can fix this. I was confused. Victor pressured me. You and we're real." "You laughed," I said. While he answered, tears flashed. "Please, don't ruin me. I made a mistake." "I didn't ruin you," I said. "I revealed you." Then the blame came, hot and familiar. "You're pathetic. You're controlling. You always needed reassurance." I nodded. "Anything else?" She swallowed, went to threats. "Victor has connections." "You don't. He'll crush you. You'll never work in this town again." A door opened down the hall. Victor stepped out, collar loosened, face flushed. Susan Park and another board member followed him, speaking low. Victor saw us and started forward. I stepped sideways into the pool of light beneath a security camera. Hands empty, posture calm, not fear strategy. If he touched me here, it wouldn't be my word against his. It would be his face on a recording explaining why he couldn't control himself for 30 seconds. Victor stopped short. You think that protects you? It protects you, I said, from doing something stupid. Claire tried bargaining, voice cracking. What do you want? Money? The house? Just tell me what to give you. I pulled a plain envelope from my jacket. Paper, not drama. A process server waited at the end of the corridor, clipboard in hand. Dana's timing, not luck. I held the envelope out. Separation papers, I said. Claire stared like it was poison. The server stepped forward. Claire Avery? She tried. No. He read from the clipboard. Claire Avery, formerly Claire Morgan. Her face went pale. The legal name she didn't use at galas. The name that didn't sparkle. Victor snapped. This is harassment. It's paperwork, I said. Sometimes peace looks like paperwork. Susan's voice cut in. Mr. Halden, step back. Victor froze. He didn't respect me. He respected consequences. The process server completed service, calm, professional. Reality delivered. Claire whispered, You're leaving me with nothing. I shook my head. I'm leaving you with what you chose. She glared. You'll regret this. I already regretted it, I said. I'm done paying. Victor's eyes burned. You're not safe, he said. I shrugged. Neither are you. That wasn't a threat. It was a mirror, and mirrors scare people who only survive by being adored. Susan guided Victor back toward the office. Victor went because he had to. The man who used to smile through consequences had finally met one that didn't care about his teeth. Claire stood there, clutching papers that turned her perfect story into dated signatures and plain ink. She looked at me like she still expected the world to bend, but I wasn't part of her narrative anymore. I walked out into the snow. Jordan waited by the curb, engine running. He asked, Where to? I looked straight ahead at the dark road and the falling snow and the quiet town that would wake up tomorrow hungry for details. I didn't look back at the hotel doors. I didn't need the satisfaction of seeing her chase me or seeing Victor try to pretend he'd planned this outcome. I'd spent too long living with my head turned over my shoulder, listening for the next lie like it was a footstep. The snow hit the windshield in soft ticks, and the wipers made that steady, tired sound that always reminded me of time passing whether you cooperate or not. My phone buzzed once in my pocket, then again. I didn't pull it out. If I saw her name, I'd feel something, and feeling was how she got leverage. If I saw his name, I'd want to answer just to prove I wasn't afraid. Either way, the device would turn into a leash. So I let it buzz and fade, and I kept my hands open on my knees like a man who wasn't going to reach for the same poison twice. Jordan didn't fill the silence with advice. He just drove. Streetlights slid over the dashboard, over my knuckles, over the empty space where my ring used to sit. I'd taken it off that morning and set it beside the sink, and the bare skin felt wrong and honest at the same time. Outside, the hotel's warm windows shrank behind us, and with them, the version of me that used to apologize for wanting basic respect. I thought about the 2 a.m. laugh again, not as a wound, but as a marker, a milepost, the moment the story stopped being hers and started being mine. I didn't feel healed. I felt awake, and awake was enough. When we hit the bridge out of downtown, the wind shoved at the car, and the river below looked like black glass. I caught my reflection in the passenger window-tired eyes, tight jaw, a man who'd finally stopped negotiating. Somewhere back there, Claire would be trying to explain herself to people who'd only cared about her because she looked untouchable. Somewhere back there, Victor would be realizing that his charm didn't work on written records. I didn't have to say a word to them ever again for tonight to keep happening. I let the heater warm my hands and kept my eyes forward, because forward was the only direction that didn't ask me to lie. Tonight,